We're
Hi,
back
lady.
for another episode of the Horror Flick Chicks podcast. I'm Sonia, and we have Sandra and Angie, as always, with me. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the Let the Right One In series, which is on Showtime. We all saw it, and we're going to talk about it. There's 10 episodes, and we're just gonna do a quick run through of the show and what we thought and our favorite parts, all that stuff. So be mindful that there will be spoilers in this episode. So if you haven't seen the show, you might not want to watch this podcast until after you see the show. So let's go.
Yeah, don't come at us.
Yeah, we warned you. So that's it. Anyway, so Let the Right One In is based on the movie of the same name, right?
And the movie is based on the novel of the same name, by John Avid Lindquist, Swedish. I hope I pronounced that right. Um, yeah, so the original movie was in 2008, directed by Tomas Alfredson, which was, if you're listening, we did in a No Judgments podcast, one of our series, a few episodes ago, which I watched recently. It was one of my films that I had to watch because I sadly hadn't seen it. And I loved it, and it's become now one of my very favorite films of all time. Seriously. And so I was really excited to watch this, and I encouraged you guys to watch. And you guys dove into it, loved it, right?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was already gonna watch. I just never got around to it when it first came
Yeah.
out. I was always ready to watch it. Um, but yeah, it was good from the beginning.
Yes.
So as everyone who's seen the movie will know, the show is based on a girl who is a vampire, and her father has to take care of her. Get her blood and things like that, and she befriends a boy that's bullied, and she basically helps him out with the bullies and things like that. So that's the same thing that happened in the movies, right? The difference here in this show is that in the movies it's kind of like, oh well, this girl's just a vampire, and she's a vampire. We don't know really what happened.
Right.
And she was already like, in the movie, she had already been living for like hundreds of years.
Yes,
Like,
for
Yes.
she said, like, in that movie, like, she's been 12 for a very long
yes,
time. And in this series, Eleanor, the name is
Yes.
different. It's Eli in the movie, it's Eleanor in the series. Eleanor, it seems like, it's a recent thing, at least in the last, what,
It's
10
10 years.
it was about 10 years.
It was,
Yes.
right, 10 years. So, I mean, in 10 years, of course, so many things can change, but at the same time, you're sort of, at least you're living within the decade. And so and the other difference is, I think in the movie, it's obviously it's 100 years. So it's not her actual father. It's like a caretaker.
Right.
And in this
Right.
one, it's
Oh, in the movie. So in the movie, I don't know if you realize this in the movie, but the caretaker, her caretaker, was her friend. She always seems to befriend kids, her, 12 years old, right?
right.
And they find out about her, and they become her caretaker.
Right.
That was what was happening in the movie. Like, it was always that person, that kid friend of hers that grew up and
Right.
continued to, right? But in this one, we have it's the same thing, right? The girl's a vampire, but she was bit. So, we know that. But it seems like there's this genetically engineered um, you know, pill,
A drug.
a
Yeah.
drug, I should say, right? That gives people those vampire qualities. And it's everything. It's not just the thirst for blood and not being able to go into the sun, but even like not being able to go into someone's house without being invited, like everything that has to do with being a vampire. So I thought that was interesting, because I would think like if they did something like that where some drug made you a vampire, it would give you the thirst for blood and maybe you can't be in the sun, but not the other stuff, which is which is not a bad thing. I just was like, wow, that they really just made this drug turn you into a complete vampire all the way around. You know, um, I love the actors in this movie.
Yeah.
I
Especially the
love that
kids.
it was set in New York City,
And it was set in New York
Yeah.
City. Yes.
our
Um,
beloved hometown.
yeah, especially the kids. So the girl actually, I actually saw her on an episode of America's Got Talent,
I was reading about that.
because I watch America's Got Talent normally. So I actually saw her on an episode. I reckon when I was watching this, I recognized her. It's like, oh, that's the girl.
Really?
She's
She
a
was
singer.
actually
She was
she's a
really
singer.
great.
She was
I,
actually in the show, but not as a contestant necessarily. She was in the audience, and it was one of those things where the hype person goes around the audience and says, "Oh, you have a talent. You have this," during the break.
Oh,
And she was
interesting.
there, and he was, "Oh, I sing." And her father had cancer. Her father was there with her.
Yeah.
Her father had cancer, and she was
Oh,
there. And he said, "Yeah, she can sing. I can sing whatever." And she went up to the stage, and she blew off. She got the golden buzzer, everything.
oh my
She never made
goodness.
it to
wow.
the. She
I
never
didn't know
won.
any
She
of
didn't.
this.
Yeah, she didn't win.
I thought she was a great actress.
Yeah.
Her
She's a great singer too.
so
I
so
didn't know
her
she was
name
an
is,
actress at all.
I don't
So
know if we said her name, Madison Taylor Bias.
yeah,
She was fantastic. I have to say one thing about the casting for this. Um, the casting was just so incredible. I thought it was really, it was diverse.
Yes.
I really liked the cast members in this. It was Damien Bichir, who's a Mexican actor, Anika Noni Rose, who actually
I
did the,
love her.
yeah, she's fantastic. So she did the voice in the princess.
She's Tiana, the Princess
Yeah,
Tiana.
she's Tiana in the
She's
Princess
the
and the
first.
Oh, see,
She's
I
the
didn't know
first.
this.
She's the first Black Disney princess.
yeah.
Yep,
And yeah,
Wow.
so I mean, and then the little boy Ian, I believe I forgot his last name, but
Ian Foreman.
yes, they thank you. Yeah, I mean, listen, they got some really great
I
actors,
loved
and
him. He's so
I
cute, the
have to
little
Oh my
say,
God, he was so adorable.
he was so cute. Oh my God, give me a break. And
The kids together, Eleanor and Isaiah, like
right,
every time they had their interaction, it was like the best. It was my favorite.
adorable, adorable.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, they were just
I
so
agree.
cute together.
And then they had this whole thing going on with them, but then they had this kind of side story about this man who was the one that created this
The,
drug,
right.
right? And he was dying. He ended up dying, actually. And his daughter, who is a scientist as well, he kind of brought her in, and they have this like um you know difficult relationship.
Estranged. They're
Yeah,
estranged.
Difficult relationship, and but he brought her in and kind of told her, look, you have to help me because your brother
is
is
alive.
your brother is alive, right? And she
The
thought
brother who she thought
was
was
dead,
Is
dead
dead.
a long time ago.
right? And he's
I
alive.
mean, what a secret to keep. I mean, even from your estranged
I know.
child. You know what I mean?
Well, the guy, the father was a little bit,
Well, he was kooky. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. I mean,
So
but I don't even like that whole thing. Could you imagine walking into a dark room and seeing your sibling alive from and the same age as they were when they
right,
Yeah.
died?
right.
Like,
So the brother was alive, but he was also this vampire creature because he had been given the drug, and he was the same age he was when
Well, he got turned.
he
Didn't
did,
he get
yeah.
turned? They mentioned that in the when they found out about Eleanor. and they were asking her about, do you remember what happened to you? And she said that she got bit, and he said, yes, me too. He got bit.
Okay, okay.
The
So
same.
I think initially that drug the father made to try and help him, but I guess it turned out to be,
Right. That's why he put him out in the sun, I guess, to see if it worked. I guess earlier on
yeah.
in the episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And then
Um,
he was selling
and
it to make money to, I guess, help him
yeah.
keep
but didn't it
researching to
turn
find a
out to
cure.
be? Didn't it turn out to be that that they had been bitten at the same time
It
or
was
Yeah. So I don't
so
think it was the same time necessarily, but it was
the
in the
same?
same like time frame somehow.
Yeah, like not that far apart from each other, not that
Right.
long apart from each other. Yeah,
So then we go through the episodes and then we see this. We see Anika Noni Rose's character Naomi, right? And she lives next door with her son Isaiah. She lives next door to Mark and Eleanor, and they're and she's a
and she's a
cop.
homicide
Yes,
detective.
she's a homicide detective. And meanwhile, Mark is out killing people for blood for his daughter, and she
Including someone very close to her.
yes, and she's a
Which,
homicide detective. And he once he finds out, he kind of freaks out. He's very calm though, but he does kind of freak out about it, kind of like, oh man,
So
like
yeah, he doesn't want to
you
get
know.
found out.
Right. And usually they kind of move around a lot because
Right.
obviously you can't stay in one place too long. But I think he wants to keep keep a steady location for his daughter for a
Well,
while.
yeah, he
So they're
wants to
trying to do
create
that.
some kind of normalcy for her.
Right. But
Yeah,
all this happens and it's just turns into this crazy, crazy like ride. And
yeah,
she ends up figuring out that he's not, you know, what he portrays himself to be, and little by little. And you know, there's all these other characters in it, which is this is I mean, it's a lot to talk about with this whole series, but there's so many other characters. I like the Mark's friend, the one who owns a restaurant with him,
Zeke,
Zeke, who's Eleanor's godfather. I
and
thought
he knows about her
he knows about her,
from
and
the beginning.
yeah. And I loved in the middle when they started the scenes from before where they
The
showed
origin story.
where
yeah.
they
That was my
showed
favorite.
the
Yeah,
mom, the
That
parents when they were
was
when right when
yeah.
they were with her and when she was
I
actually
liked
12 years old.
yeah,
Right. And the relationship they had with Zeke,
mhm.
and what happened to her and what happened to her mother.
yes,
Yeah.
It was so
It
sad.
was deep. I mean, I also especially liked the part where you see how Mark the father was like learning how to feed her.
yeah.
And
Right.
that one heartbreaking scene where he's like he had committed his first murder
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
that he was like trying to drive his way back, gets into an accident, gets in the cops are called, he's like freaking out, he gets out of it, but he gets home and like the blood has to obviously be
The blood's
fresh.
not fresh anymore. Right,
The blood's not fresh anymore, and just like this his sadness of like I didn't make it, like
Failed.
yeah,
imagine like that's just like this horrible feeling of like failing your child.
right.
um
And it's a lot different than, I think that was like this 10 episode. I think that was episode 7, and is a completely different character than you see from the beginning, because he seems very uh not the right word, I guess, confident, and like he knows what he's doing, he knows what he has to do, he knows how much he
he's a
needs to get
chef.
for her, and but then you see in the beginning how, with like his first time doing it, that he was like, it was like completely like he was in shock, and he was scared, and he was
And I think
upset, and
even he was still every time he killed someone, I think he still had it was I mean, he got used to it because he knew he had to do it for his daughter.
Oh, he didn't like it. He
But
doesn't
he
like
was,
Oh,
doing it. Yeah,
and then that episode where Zeke is like, before the first one, and he knew what he was gonna do, and he's like telling the wife, like, look, he's
oh
ready to
yeah,
go for her, like he's ready to commit crimes,
right.
and like and then that's when they kind of like they split their friendship because they were like, well, this is not your kid,
Right.
and he was just trying to protect them,
Yeah.
but obviously a parent is going to do what a parent's going to
Yeah.
do.
right.
um and at that point it was very obvious that they'll do anything to keep their daughter alive and to cure her, and
Alive because
yeah, exactly, quote
To
unquote
cure
alive.
her, right? Because
to
they
cure
they
her.
were in the midst
In
of all this, they were trying to find a cure for that.
Right.
Right.
I also really thought that the relationship between Mark and the detective
Naomi.
was
Naomi.
was interesting. I mean, you could see it coming, obviously, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was kind of sweet.
it
I
was
also,
sweet.
yeah, just the relationships were beautiful. Like I think it was pieced together so beautifully. I don't know. I Of course, like the original to me is like now obviously like I really loved it. And I think that for this series, I'm sure like a lot of people won't appreciate this, but for what it is, this series, like I'm waiting for season 2. That
Yeah.
last
Me
episode, by
too.
the way, was like, oh
Right.
my God. I don't even know if we want to spoil that one for
Well, yeah. I
anybody.
mean, we said we were giving spoilers, so let's do it, right? So,
I
well,
don't know. Should we do
let's
it?
say I think we should.
Why not?
So we see so Mark is looking for answers and looking for a cure for Eleanor, and it leads him to the house with the scientist guy that died and his daughter who is now like running everything
Right.
is there trying to figure out because she's trying to find a cure for her brother too.
Right.
So he ends up there, they end up there, both of them, Mark and Eleanor, and she's telling them that she can help them, that she's trying to find a cure also, and everything. And it's nice because when they get there and Eleanor's there, she meets this I forget the names, the scientist's brother, the one who's also a vampire, and they
Peter.
Peter, and they're looking at each other like, I know you. And it's funny because when they showed one of those scenes from when Eleanor was actually 12, she went
Before they were both vampires.
before they were both vampires, right? They actually went to a it was kind of one of
The
those
stargazers.
stargazers, an event where they have telescopes and you can look at the stars and the constellations and things like that. And they were partnered with each other, so it was kind of funny that I mean, we knew that because we saw the scene before,
Right.
but when they met and then she saw the picture of the whole Stargazers crew from when they were
Right.
there, and she said, "Oh, you were my partner," and they said, "Oh," so it's kind of funny. And then they started to piece things together, and they said, "Yeah, there was a guy that came around and asking us for our addresses, for like a
A
newsletter or
newsletter.
something." And they started to figure out, oh, this guy must have been the guy who went around to bite people and bite us.
Either he's the vampire or he knows who the vampire is.
He was
Because
a
they both
vampire. He was because when they showed him leaving, when he got their addresses and he would leave, his eyes were glowing.
Oh, that's true.
So
That's
he
true.
was a vampire. And
Right.
so anyway, they find out that they knew each other and everything, and and Mark and Ellen are in the house, and the scientist lady tells Mark, "Well, you have to do now. You have to kill Naomi because she's a homicide detective, and she's gonna find out
She's already been poking around.
and she's gonna find out what's going on, and then that's it. Then we're not gonna cure anybody." So he actually goes to try and kill her.
Right.
Um, and at that point, I was like, "Oh, I don't know what's gonna happen now." I didn't know what was gonna happen after that. And then he ended up like he couldn't do it, and fast forward a little bit, she finds out, that Mark went to this lady's house. So she goes over there by herself. And she finds them all: Mark, Eleanor, Peter, and his sister, right? And there's fights going on. She draws her gun. There's fights going on, and Peter, it was Peter, right? Yeah, Peter attacks her and bites her. First of all, she knocked
No,
her head on the.
he didn't bite her. He didn't bite her. He attacks her and he starts banging her head
Yeah, her
against her.
head got hit on the ground. Yes, right. And she's losing a lot of blood, and you know she's and I think Eleanor threw Peter off of him.
Yes, she did. Wasn't it Eleanor that was like, let's save her?
Yes,
And
at the end.
yes, so at
they
the
bring
end,
him outside.
he's the one who saves her and bites her.
Eleanor
So now,
Eleanor got Peter off of her because she loves Naomi,
Yes.
you know,
And she doesn't
and
want
she
anything
was
to
trying
happen
to
to
help
Isaiah's
her.
mom.
Right. And then she, it they try to get her to try and get her out to like get her help, but Mark very quickly said she's not gonna make it. And Eleanor very quickly
next
said,
pick.
we can't
Yeah,
let her die. I can't let Isaiah be alone.
be alone. Yeah,
And Mark
yeah.
knows what she's gonna do, and she goes ahead and does it. So I'm very
I
excited, like you
mean,
said,
at
to
this
see a
point,
part two, a second season in this.
we're seeing a part two. But at this point, I just want all of them to be together. Let's just make you all vampires and live a nice vampire life. Okay?
Because now, so season two, obviously they have to have a season two, right? Um, Now season two is going to be Mark getting blood for Eleanor and Naomi.
Yeah,
Like, unless Naomi's going to do it herself because she's still a homicide detective. I mean, she could probably, you know,
yeah.
try to do it
It's
herself.
gonna be
But
interesting how this plays out in the second
I think
season. So hopefully we get to see it.
in the beginning it's going to be hard for her because she doesn't know what to do and she's not
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
So it's going to be difficult. But then when she gets a hang of everything, I think she's gonna like figure out ways to do it herself. And
And
she
what's
might
and
even
what
start getting it for
uh,
Eleanor too. I don't know.
right? And what's gonna be her
I
and
wonder if she's
Mark's
going to continue to go
relationship
to work.
now?
Would you
She's gonna
continue to
have
go to
to.
work if you became a vampire?
Well,
Just
she
wondering.
can't, right? Because she can't be out in the sun.
Oh, this is true. Unless she works like only night shifts.
I don't think that's gonna be
I don't know how that's
possible.
gonna work out, but
Well, somebody's got to pay the rent.
that's what I'm saying. Somebody has to work, and I think
Well, Mark works at the restaurant.
yeah, but he can't take care of all of them, and
Well,
she's gonna need.
Why are we're worried about their economics now?
I think
it's important.
I think she's gonna need the job mostly because that's how she's gonna get her blood.
Blood for victims, yeah.
So that's why I think she's gonna still be working.
Yeah. So I just have to say, I don't think Showtime, correct me if I'm wrong, has announced a season 2 yet.
No.
I don't think
They're
so.
gonna air it. So come on with it, Showtime. We're waiting. We want to see this continue. We need to know what happens.
We need to see this continue.
We need to figure out how everybody's getting paid and surviving. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome show. You guys, if you haven't checked it out, you have to check it out. Again, it's on Showtime. It's streaming on Showtime. Yeah, and if you watch it and you love it, we gotta like petition Showtime to get season 2 out there because this show is too hot.
We gotta do something. It was really good.
And this is just inspiring me to read the novel, by the way, the original novel from 2004.
I don't know if it was exactly the same as like the movies and the show. Like,
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I just always like to read this stuff.
that'd be cool. But this is fun. This was a great episode, I think.
So fun.
Yeah.
And again, we're the Horror Flick Chicks, and you can find our podcast streaming on Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. And also, you can find the video on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Horror Flick Chicks. And yeah, we'll be back for another episode
Sorry.
very soon. And thanks for sticking with us. And make sure you follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, we'll see you soon. And we're going to say peace out for now. Sonia and Angie and Sandra. Peace, love, and
Peace,
harmony.
guys.